Hey y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants. So this week, I'm not going to try to convince you that you should or should not take this terrible advice. I'm going to try really hard. I just want to tell you what happens when you do follow this terrible advice. So what is this advice, you may wonder? Apparently, what's old is new again, y'all, because now the TikTok kids are telling you that you should agree to whatever salary range the recruiter gives you, even if it's below your expectations. Let's discuss. Now, I understand that most of us, and I consider myself an occasional job seeker, okay? I've been a candidate too. I'll be a candidate again in the future, I'm sure. We tend to have three numbers, right? One is like I would fall over and faint if I got it. Like that's my dream number. Don't even bother if it's less than number. And then usually there's a number in between that we would be like, I could work with that. Okay? I mean, let's just be real. Let's just be real. We have variations in our expectations, as we should, right? That's totally normal, totally fine. So the guidance is essentially whatever number the recruiter gives you, just say yes. Because if a recruiter says, well, this role pays between 80 and 100,000 and maybe you're looking for 60,000, congratulations. You're interviewing for a job that pays way more than what you are looking for. Love that for us. Seriously, I think that's amazing. I want that for all of us, okay? But I'm also realistic and I know that doesn't always happen. On the other hand, same range, maybe again, 80 to 100K, you're really looking for 120 plus, like your minimum, like I can't realistically go below 120. You're still saying yes. Why? Can someone tell me why that's a good idea? Because here's what I've pieced together, just thinking about, talking to some folks and reading some comments and following some of these threads. Y'all, the research I do on your behalf, okay? It's painful. And I have to bite my tongue a lot. Just saying. This might be vodka as a coping mechanism, okay? It's water, I'm just kidding. Maybe. Anyway. No, but seriously, I've tried to be objective and put myself in the job seeker shoes and understand why people thought this was a good idea. Here's what I've come up with. There seems to be a misconception that you will be the special one who is so amazing and so phenomenal and so great that you're going to get to the offer stage and they will be willing to negotiate outside of their own predetermined range in order to get you. That's not how this works. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. That is not how this works. With very few exceptions, and I'm talking highly specialized, incredibly well-paying, super special, very niche roles, we will happily move on to the next candidate. I'm just being honest. We can love you. We can think you're amazing. We can think you have fantastic feedback. But it is very rare that companies are willing to play these kinds of games. Now, I'm not talking about lowballing. I'm not talking about manipulating you into taking money that is less than what you deserve. I'm talking about a fair range based on market data, based on internal equity, based on all the things that goes into comp analysis. If that does not work for you, that is okay. But to say that it does work for you, you are setting yourself up for a bad time. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to convince you should or should not. That is your decision. But let me tell you what happens. Okay? I've got a good story and I've got a not so good story for you. All right? Y'all ready for this? I'm going to start with the good story. And we'll end on a low note. Okay. So these situations, real world situations from my previous recruiting career, while back in the day, not naming names, not naming companies, not my current company. And in one case, I had, was talking to a gentleman and we'd had a couple of touch points around compensation, as I do. And as we're ready for the interview, we've gone through the initial steps. Like we have really good phone screen data, technical screen data, and I think there was an assessment, all good stuff, right? And I'm revisiting this person's candidacy and we're on the call, we're doing a prep call for the interview. And I said, I just want to make sure we're good. Because this guy was really, really solid, like very like top of the level, right? For this job. I said, I just want to make sure we're good on compensation. We've talked about this a couple times. We've had some good conversations. I just want to be really clear, like, this is what the job pays. You're good, right? Well, I kind of wanted to talk to you about that. Okay, let's talk. Let me have it. So we have a conversation and he shares with me, well, I've, got this bonus potential in my current company and I've got, and he's like kind of giving me all these. I'm like, okay, time out. First of all, your current compensation, none of my business, not writing that down, nothing to do with me. However, I can see how this will inform your expectations. And here's where I'm concerned. This is what I say to him. Here's where I'm concerned. If my role pays, I don't know, like 120 or whatever it was, and you really cannot consider less than, 150, it doesn't make sense to leave for less than what you're at, I don't know that this is the right job for you. Like, I want to just have a real transparent conversation with you about it because, you could make the argument that, well, yeah, let's go through the process, let's interview, let's get data. But you're not going to be happy with the offer. And I don't want to waste anyone's time. These are precious engineering hours on both sides, you and the hiring team. You're taking a day off, they're taking time away. Does this make sense? So we had a very honest conversation. Just in the interest of time, I won't go into every single detail, but we ended up pausing and I actually went back to the team and I just said, look, here's where we need to be. This person showed tremendous promise through the data we have so far. Can we at least shoot high? Can we at least interview for the next level up? Make sure we're asking the right questions. Make sure we're getting the right data points. That way, just in case this person really is senior, we've covered our asses. We've made sure we're not trying to make changes based on compensation alone, because that's not a good idea. But we are really, we're taking the right chances here. They agreed. We had good feedback. We were able to make the right offer, and it was a happy ending. But y'all, here's the thing. The reason why it was important to have that conversation up front is because if we had gone through the interview and said, oh yeah, this person's totally like a really strong L5. Oh, well, but they won't take L5 money. Well, then why did we bother? Because at that point, ship has sailed. It's very hard to go back and say, well, maybe we should try for senior. Can we just do an L6 loop real quick and just see? No. That's why it's important to set those expectations and make sure we're asking the right questions and scaling the interview in the right place before. Now, comp happened to be the trigger to have that discussion, but if we had not had that discussion, it would not have been a happy ending. Okay? So very important to be transparent about that. Talk to your recruiter about, what are the options? This is where I need to be. Is there potentially a bigger scoped role I could fit? Important questions. Here's a time when it didn't go so great. Similar situation. This is now, a leader, a senior leader. So this is a manager of managers. And we're having a similar conversation, and I'm like, look, you're fantastic. We're excited. You are special and niche and all the things. Like, this was a very, very specialized position. Highly regulated industry. And I just want to be transparent. Like, I know people are throwing money at people like you left and right, and I just want to be really clear. This is where we're probably going to be. Oh, that's not enough. I said, oh, got you. Good to know. Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about what is enough, right? Like, what do you have a number in mind? Is there a yes number I should be hitting? Well, I'm not ready to talk about that. Okay. I mean, I can't force you to give me an answer, right? I said, that's fine. I know you're going through a discovery phase as we are, and you need to learn some stuff about us as well. I said, but I just want to be clear. If you agree to interview for this role, I'm taking that as you are willing to consider an offer that looks like this. Well, that's not enough. Understood. So we're not going to interview. Oh, no. I want to interview. Why? And so we had like this push-pull back and forth. This individual never gave me a number, absolutely refused to give me a number. Just said the number I gave was not enough. I finally got to a point. I talked to the hiring manager. I said, okay, let me come back to you. I went and talked to the hiring manager. I'm like, look, I'm not feeling great about this. There's some concerns here. Here's the conversations we've had. Manager's like, oh, well, so we agreed. Like, we're going to take a chance. We're going to be, he told me to say this. Manager said, you tell him there's no way an offer is going to be above X. Like, we did all the math and we looked at the ranges and we looked at the caps and we did all the things. He's like, just make it really clear that not only does he have to knock everybody's socks off, be literally the best engineering leader we've ever met, and he's going to have to, accept this top of the range. Like, we'll do it. We'll go to the limit, but we can't go outside the limit. Like, that's the limit. Okay, I'll tell him. So I go back. I have that conversation. Well, we'll just do the interview and we'll just see what happens. One thing I've gotten really good at in 25 years of recruiting is calling an outcome. I am rarely wrong. And so I was disappointed, not surprised, when we go through the process. We get really good data. I mean, he interviewed well, strong feedback. We were able to justify the exception required to go to the limit. And when I made the offer, and he says, I can't accept that, that would be a $100,000 cut in pay or what have you, I said, this is why we had the comp conversation. So now I'm going to tell the manager that you are declining. And he said, well, no, I'm just, Sir, I have a list of documentation in the ATS where I have written down notes in your file, your electronic file, every time we had a conversation. And I've noted multiple times the conversations you and I have had. You knew this is what the offer was going to be. There is no negotiation. I'm sorry that it didn't work out. I'm especially sorry that you and the interviewers invested so many engineering hours into this conversation. I'm going to let the hiring manager know that you are declining. And he said, wow, no, just let me think about it. Blah, blah, blah. Comes back the next day. I want to accept, but I need. Sir, I'm going to tell the manager that you are declining Thank you so much for investing the time with us. We enjoyed getting to know you. I'm sorry that it didn't work out. Let this be a lesson to us all. And that is how the story ends. It's disappointing. It's sad. We were frustrated because he was good, but we also had 3 other candidates in the pipeline and hired one of those. I don't want anyone to reduce their expectations. That's not the message here. I'm not saying you need to bend to the recruiter's range. You absolutely do not. But you need to be honest with yourself most of all, but ideally with everyone else in process, about what realistically could happen. I mean, it's frustrating to relive it. It's been years. But I'm just like, I remember the last time I talked to this manager. I mean, this is like long after this situation. We'd already filled the role and filled some other roles. Like we'd had a lot of other history and did a lot of other good work together. And I remember one of our last conversations before I left. Remember that guy? The hiring manager. Remember that guy? Remember what he did? He was still mad about it. I'm like, yeah, I remember. I'll never forget. I'll probably tell that story in the future on a video. No, I didn't. Didn't have the channel back then. But it's like, I remember. And so did the hiring manager. And so did everyone else on this loop. All of this would have been resolved if he had just said, thanks, but no thanks. I'm happy to keep in touch. I'm happy to stay connected. I'm happy to, have a beer with the leader when I'm in town or what. That's fine. Like you can keep someone in your network and you can stay connected to someone professionally without blowing up your spot with them through this kind of ridiculous behavior, because that's what it is. I know, and I will die on this hill. I was completely transparent. I was completely forthcoming. I was completely honest, and my conversation never wavered. I left that feeling good, knowing that I did everything I could have done. And the hiring manager apologized to me multiple times for my time being wasted. I'm not trying to paint anybody as a villain here, but I'm just saying, when push comes to shove, one of us didn't look very good, and it wasn't me. Do with that what you will, friends. Do you get the good ending? Do you get the bad ending? I don't know, but I hope, if anything, you've learned the importance of transparency and honesty through this process. We'll see you next week.